Even a small amount of moisture on the grass can block the chute going into the grass box. So let's have a look why and how this happens, but first of all, let's have a look at what happens when everything is running well. Rotary lawnmowers rely on a flow of air coming through the bottom of the deck right through to the grass box. This is achieved by the blade itself. As the blade turns, the lift on the edge of the blade causes air to be projected upwards towards the top of the cutting deck. When the upward projected air has been moved from this area, it creates a vacuum behind it, drawing in more air. As the blade moves as fast as the engine is turning, it doing so creates a suction pressure throughout the whole of the underside of the deck. This creates a constant flow of air through. This air moving past the grass and creating that suction pressure puts a lift on the blades of grass, making them point upwards towards the blade. The blade then comes along and cleanly and evenly chops through the well-placed blades of grass. And the pieces chopped off get caught in the airflow through to the grass collector and so are stored there. So this system differs considerably from mulching the grass. Because to mulch the grass, we need to use a blade that is structurally different. Although designed to create a lift in the grass to point it towards the blade, it hasn't got the same amount of wind power or vacuum power as does a collector blade. Instead, it's designed to create a swirling effect of the air on the underside of the deck. And the pieces of chopped grass get caught up in this airflow. This exposes them to multiple chops of the blade. And with the mulching blade's multiple cutting edges on each end of the blade, which is unlike the collecting blade that usually has one cutting edge on each end of the blade, those pieces of grass get chopped multiple times before falling to the ground as tiny pieces. This swirling effect under the deck also relies on there being no grass chute for the grass to escape, or that chute being purposely plugged up. But one of the downsides of mulching is that they're not very good at cutting long grass. The grass has to be cut quite regularly for the mulching system to work optimal because long grass can clog this system. But, however, if the mowing is done quite regularly, they are quite good at chopping wet grass. But with a grass collecting system, we can of course give that ultimate tidy look to the lawn. Now, collecting the grass is all well and good in ideal dry conditions, but when the grass has water droplets attached to it, even quite a small amount of dew, as I've mentioned, these droplets cause the chopped off pieces of grass to clump together and also stick to the underside of the mower. And we've got to remember that the very essence of grass collecting means that we need to move this grass to put it in the grass collector, and so it's no good at all being stuck to the deck. If we were mulching and we had this kind of build-up of grass, it wouldn't necessarily mean it was a bad thing, because the mulching process could still go ahead, because we haven't really got to shift the grass in the same way as we have when we're placing it into a grass collector. But too much of this would of course be bad for mulching as well. So we need as little amount of wet grass as possible to prevent any clumping, because one of their favourite places for clumping is indeed in the chute that goes to the grass box. It blocks off that vital flow of air going through the mower to the grass collector, and with the grass being wet, it's going to lie flatter than it would do if it was dry anyway. On top of this extra flattened grass, it's highly likely that we'll have less of the lifting pressure because the air no longer has a clear run right through past the blades to the grass collector. The upward air pressure created by the blade now is most likely to hit the top of the deck and then push back down towards the grass, thus somewhat cancelling out the lifting pressure that we had before. We've got to remember that the main purpose of the collecting blade is to create that higher level of airflow than the mulching blade so that it can get the grass into the collector. Then that much higher pressure wind than what's produced by a mulching blade is indeed the reason why it is likely that the wind will hit the top of the deck and reflect back downwards because of that meaningfully higher pressure directed upwards. So in a nutshell, if the grass is wet this weekend, then it's probably best to wait a few days until the weather hopefully dries up and allows you to get a better cut on your lawn. And if you like that video, then you might like this one, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and I'll be back soon. Thank you for watching.